Our headlines today. The Chancellor defends tax cuts aimed at boosting economic growth, saying they're fair for all. We'll have the reaction to the mini-budget.
Lower taxes can be helpful, but they are not a growth strategy in themselves, and the sorts of cuts we're talking about might make a marginal difference into the long run. But I really hope the government comes forward with a lot more in terms of growth promotion.
The dark side of social media. We talked to a teenager who's become addicted to scrolling, who thinks there should be better protection for young people.
5 years after he became the first person to swim around mainland Britain, Ross Edgley has finished his latest epic challenge, which involved 52 hours of non-stop swimming in Loch Ness. The extreme athlete, who began his swim live on this programme on Wednesday morning, covered almost 50 miles to raise awareness of ocean conservation. What is now happening is that we're waiting for officials to verify Ross's attempt, and it will be deemed the record for breaking time and distance for Loch Ness.
Now, this really is a golden ticket, substantial golden ticket, this. UK Euromillions player has won £171 million. This is the latest jackpot, which could make them richer than Adele or Ozzy Osbourne. Yesterday's prize was the UK's third largest ever. Only 16 UK players have won a jackpot of more than £100 million in the game's history. The papers for you and some of the front pages. So Kwasi Kwarteng's massive wave of tax cuts dominates the front pages. The Eye reports that sterling fell to a 37-year low against the US dollar following those announcements.
A budget for the rich. That's the Guardian's headline, describing the Chancellor's package as the biggest giveaway since Anthony Barber's ill-fated 1972 budget. Some Labour MPs have described the plans as a class war.
Not all papers critical, though. Daily Mail celebrating what its headline calls a true Tory budget. You can see there, according to the paper, business chiefs welcome the measures, with the Confederation of British Industry saying there was no choice but to go for growth.
The Times has this photo of the acclaimed author, Dame Hilary Mantel, who has died suddenly at the age of 70.
Yeah, just picking up on Hilary Mantel, I have a sense, and for those who haven't heard the news this morning, she died of a stroke, we are told, at the age of 70. And I'm getting that sense this morning that she is one of those authors that I haven't paid sufficient attention to. And listening to wise voices and hearing the tributes from other authors about what she'd done, what she achieved, what her writing represented, the tributes are quite remarkable. Sorry, this is just a bit of copy read. It's not going to look like much on screen, but these are individuals. Peter Kaminsky, who'd been working with her on a number of TV productions, amongst other things, saying that more than anything else, I think you could make a very strong case for saying that she was, until yesterday, the greatest living writer of fiction in the English language. She was, without question, the cleverest, most intellectually sharp person I have ever met. She had an awesomely impressive mind. And all the people who knew her well are saying the same thing, that this was someone of real stature. And I'm kind of left a little bit this morning thinking, I've slightly missed out on this. And maybe a lot of people will now come to her work who hadn't previously, although a lot of people already had.
Well, later on, we're going to be talking to Kate Moss, who is herself an acclaimed writer and, you know, sold lots and lots of books, but is also responsible for is a big force behind the Women's Prize for Fiction. And, of course, Hilary Mantel, one of the best-selling authors, double Booker Prize winner. And she'll be talking about what Hilary Mantel's legacy is in terms of historical novels and kind of what she brought to the canon as a female writer as well. So we'll talk about that a little later. A weird story, complete change of subject, odd story. So the hunt is on. Now, if I read this to you without explaining, the hunt is on, Charlie, for the remains of the first ever Yorkshire Terrier, which could be in someone's attic. OK, so let me explain. Huddersfield Ben. So this Yorkshire Terrier, bred in 1865 by Mr. and Mrs. Jonas Foster. So, but poor Ben died in a carriage accident in 1871, so at the tender age of 6. Anyway, his taxidermied body, because looking at your face, it looks rather confused. His taxidermied body was put in a glass case and then put on display. And then the last time he was spotted was between the World Wars in a pub in the north of England, right? And the reason they would obviously like to find him is not because Ben was obviously loved by Mr. and Mrs. Jonas Foster a long time ago, but in British human history, they say this is important as well, and they want to kind of be able to trace the line of the first Yorkshire Terrier. And it was the way it was he was created. It was a black and tan terrier crossed with a Paisley one, and then he won loads and loads of awards. So the adoption site Pets for Homes, which is leading the search, would like to exhibit
So
Ben.
they're looking
for Ben in a glass case. Well, yeah, it's taxidermy. So anyway, if there are any thoughts on that, fine.